This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, welcome everyone to this roundtable discussion. We're going to be talking about Office Pro from TestOut. We've got a couple people all three of you are brand new to TestOut this year. Is that right?
Yes, I am.
Matthew, have you
For Office Pro, yeah.
Okay, all right. So let's go, ladies first. We'll start with Molly. Why don't you introduce yourself? Maybe where you're from, what you teach, what your current teaching environment looks like. And we'll
Okay.
go Molly, Kim, and then let Matthew finish us up and just do some brief introductions.
Okay, that sounds good. I'm from Arkansas. I recognize Kim's name. I don't think I've ever met her before, but I do see her name on the listserv some. I teach at a small school in Arkansas. We are blended right now, virtual and in person, and students can choose if they come to school tonight or if they come on a day. If they skip your class, it's all up to them. So you can imagine what it's like right now. I teach Survey of Business, which is Microsoft Office, and that's where I'm using TestOut with is my Survey of Business class.
Perfect. And Kim, you're also teaching Survey of Business, right?
Yes, and I also teach in a small school district in Arkansas. And students had the option back before we started to choose the completely virtual option. And for 9th through 12th grade, that was outsourced through Virtual Arkansas. So I did not have to deal with fully virtual students. However, now we have quarantine students that could be out for 2 weeks, or now I've had students that have had multiple quarantines, and so we're having to do that same blended learning. And we also had an influx after the first 9 weeks of students who chose virtual, deciding they wanted to come back to school. And so I had new students that run at the, in the middle of the semester too. So
really no consistency, just students in and out of the class and constant fluctuations. Right. Yeah, that's Arkansas. I tell you, it's been one of the rough states there this year. And Matthew, tell us about where you're at and what's your situation.
So I teach at a college in upstate New York. We teach Office products for all students, all freshmen that come in, and this is our first year using TestOut. We've been using Pearson or Cengage in the past. I like switching to TestOut because of the certification.
Awesome. Well, thanks. I appreciate y'all jumping on here. So, as I mentioned, the goal here, there's a lot of teachers that are new using TestOut, and the goal is here just to talk about what's worked well, what hasn't worked well. So let's maybe start with the positive, and feel free to just jump in here at any time, any of you. What's something that has worked well? Let's focus on the positive for a minute, and then we'll come back and do some of the negative because I know it's out there. But what's worked well for any of you?
For me, the positive is 100% that it can be done on a Chromebook, because you can't do Microsoft Word or Microsoft Office just on a tablet or whatever. You got to have so our kids are using the Chromebook, and since it's a simulation, that has been good. We have found, as I've gone through it, we've done Word and we're almost finished with Excel. I have come across a few things that the Chromebook isn't as compatible within the simulation, but overall, it's good. And even if we are back to normal next year, I still plan to continue with TestOut.
Right. Yeah, the funny thing is before the pandemic hit, I'd probably say 90% of our schools used TestOut in person. And so while we fit into an online model, it'd never been really a huge focus. It certainly had been a focus, but it was still strictly, we were still in a traditional learning model. And so most schools were still not moving into that online environment. Matthew, what's been good for you as you've kind of rolled into Office Pro? A little bit different situation. Instead of a high school, you've got a, more of an adult learner. They're paying for the experience.
Yeah, no, they're not that much adult learners. So what happened to us with this whole COVID thing is we had to switch. So I've been spending the last 3 years to making all my courses hands-on. So if you can't do it, you don't pass. Not, hey, if you can guess well on the test, you pass. I got rid of that whole model like 2 years ago. So when they switched us over to this, we were stuck because now I have a whole lab full of equipment and the kids can't learn anything. So what I basically did was test out Office Pro and PC Pro. I've just let the students go. It's like, hey, here's your deadlines. Get your stuff done. Watch the videos, do the labs. If you have any questions, what I've done is instead of forcing students to come and talk to me all the time, what I've done is I've had office hours from 8 to 4 every day. And so that way they can make an appointment with me anytime during that period, and I will work with them one-on-one. The Office Pro, I have had one student request time. So that means to me, the videos are working well, the exercises are working well, and I understand, Molly, which issues you're having, because on the TestOut, one of the TestOut challenge labs actually uses Word that's on the computer. It does not,
the live projects.
right, it does not use the simulator. And so that's going to give you problems on Chromebook because you obviously don't have Word on the Chromebook. But to me, I think that's wonderful because that's our campus is a PC campus. And so honestly, I think it's great. My problem is that, and this is a legacy problem, not a test out problem, is that my students, the number one reason for failure is they don't do the work.
Exactly.
Is that the same for everybody else?
100%.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Kim, what are you seeing about whether or not students are doing work and how to get them to do the work, right?
Well, if you have the answer to that, please let me know.
Right, that's a $1 million question for everybody, right?
Yeah, I think what happened was, when we dismissed in the spring, well, overall, the governor of Arkansas said, just focus on the core classes, English, social studies, science, and language arts, and so on. And I know some schools in Arkansas still had required their non-core teachers to give assignments and everything, but my district did not. And so all the grades and anything that was taken into effect then was just designed for effort, not to hurt them.
Right.
They couldn't get any lower grade than they had when they left. And so I think a lot of students still have that in their mindset that, oh, if I don't get this done, then it's not going to hurt me. Even though report cards have went out for 19 weeks and I've had some low grades, it still seems that motivating them to do it, especially if they are on quarantine and they're home for 2 weeks. Yes, my work is required, and trying to figure out how to get them to understand that is difficult.
Right. This was my number one fear as we went from the spring pandemic education model and we rolled back into the fall was we left with this mentality of, okay, everybody's passing, we're not going to fail anybody, you're going to get credit for the course. And then we rolled it back into the fall. And what we saw here was that same mentality by the students, right? And in a high school environment, it was even the parents. And even to some degree, I would even say the educators. So we had to go back into, okay, there's an accountability for the level of effort you're going to put into. Now, Matthew, on your end, I'm curious on so you're saying even on a post-secondary where students are paying tuition, we're still seeing this struggle of engagement, struggle of.
Oh my goodness! So this is my first time being a full-time educator. I've been an adjunct before for different colleges, but this is insane. I have never seen this before in my life. I've never seen so many students pay money to not go to college.
Right.
Why would you do that? It doesn't make any sense to me. I'll have students who show up every day and not turn in a bit of homework. Then the last week they'll go, "Hey, what can I do to pass the class? Get a time machine?"
Right.
I mean, I don't take late work.
Same thing we see in the high schools, right? So and Kim and Molly, you can probably attest to this. They come to the last day of the quarter and they're like, "What can I do to pass? I just need a pass, right?" You're like,
Yeah.
Where have you been?
Yeah. No, so big drop Friday was last Friday. And so all my boneheads, they said, hey, like, drop the class. But TestOut is amazing in that I was able to cut this class loose. I've had very little hands-on on the 2 sections that I'm teaching. Well, TestOut's doing the teaching. Because I have other classes that I have to make videos, and a 10-minute video takes me an hour and a half of just editing. So
Yeah.
my time had to be spent on other classes, and TestOut I thought was the best autonomous teaching method that was available. And really what has shaken loose is that nothing has changed. So my interaction, the only thing that's different is I'm not telling people, hey, make sure you got something on Wednesday. Hey, make sure you got something on Friday. So what I did was, and I don't have it tied to, it's not Blackboard, it's the other one. Anyway,
Canvas,
whatever.
Moodle.
Moodle, yeah, thank you. They call it here something else, but it's Moodle is the back end. But I don't have it tied to that. What I do is I do a binary grading thing. If you watch the entire video, you get a point. If you only watch part of the video, no. There's no such thing as being a little bit pregnant. So, you can't be 20% pregnant. So you're not watching 20% of the video. If you score a 0 on the lab, I still give you a point because you did the lab. Because the thing is, TestOut allows them to take it over and over and over again until they get 100. And the thing is, I found that I did that for all the activities. If they actually read the fact sheets, a lot of them say, oh no, I clicked on it. Well, yeah, okay, you clicked on it and you were there for 1/10 of a second. It was not long enough for TestOut to register that you read it. Right. So therefore you get a 0. But I do that binary grading, and I have a normal distribution of grades. The ones that didn't do anything in person are the same ones not doing anything remote. Shocker. But these students were able, and I can see how much time they spend on stuff. If they're not getting something, they do it again. Right. And they don't need me to whack them in the head.
Yeah, I try to encourage teachers all the time. It's that student self-remediation to come back in, do it multiple times. Kim and Molly, what about grading and the reports within TestOut? Has that helped you? How are you using those?
It has helped wonders for the students. Oh, I did it. Well, no, I can go in and see when you logged in. Like, that has been very beneficial. And I give a grade. I'm just doing points based on how much it's worth. 10 points, 5 points, whatever the lab is.
Tell me how you guys are scaling this out, because that was one of, especially in this Facebook group that we have going on, there was a lot of, hey, how are y'all grading and what are you giving points for? And so tell me a little bit about how we both.
We have a 60-40 split. Schoolwork is 40% of your grade and test are 60%. So the skills and challenge labs, I'm doing a schoolwork because you have the hint and the show me feature. And the applied labs I'm using as test scores. So if they're doing their work, there's no reason they should not have an A. I mean, there's no reason not to have an A. But if the applied lab only is worth 5 points, then that test is 5 points. That's the only way I'm doing it. Except for I'm doing a cumulative exam at the end of each 9 weeks, and that's worth 100 points. So I mean, that can help you or hurt you, but I mean, if they do the work, it's easy.
It's not a matter of them not understanding the material or needing it presented in a different way. And I explained to them, I said, the longest TestOut video I've encountered so far is like 12 minutes. You can't watch TV for 12 minutes? Come on.
Yeah.
What about you, Kim? What are you doing as far as grading? And Kim, maybe, if you wouldn't mind, you've created some additional resources out there. I'd love for you to share maybe a little bit about what you've done. I mean.
Okay. Yeah, I first started out with doing like the skills lab was worth 1 point per task. The challenge lab was worth 2 points, and then maybe the applied labs were worth a little bit more. I can't remember, but now I've just gone and I'm just doing the percentages
Okay.
and averaging those together, and that's their score for that. And
And do you
then when
take their
they take their actual,
highest percentage? Are you
yes,
taking their highest? Okay.
I'm
right.
doing the
So it's like,
highest as well.
Okay.
right, because
And I give them a
it's
point if they
no
take
reason
it,
not to
whether
be
they
a
score
grade.
0 or not.
Right. So, and then with their certification test, their MOS certification test, that counts as their final exam, which is worth so much of their grade. So
Yep.
the Word is 30%, Excel 33%, and PowerPoint 33%.
Yep.
And so, and as far as resources, like with the videos, and I'm going to try it differently with PowerPoint, mainly because I just don't have time. I mean, because by the time we're just like Molly, we're finishing up Excel. And so when we get back from Thanksgiving, we're actually going to have to take our Excel certification because I just didn't have time to get it finished before Thanksgiving. And then I've only got a couple of weeks for PowerPoint, which that's not unusual. That's the way it usually happens. And we are about 2 weeks shorter of time this semester than usual. But I have a student that really wants to try for the national championship. I usually always have 1 or 2 qualify each year. And so I went ahead and had him start PowerPoint today. And then because that deadline's on December 11th. So that'll give him some time to finish PowerPoint and practice for the test and take the test as many times as he wants to. And then he can come back and finish Excel. And so I just put him in it. Didn't my resources that I have, like I made questions to go along with all the videos, and then I have my own practice activities, and then I use quizzes to kind of wrap up everything. But for him, I said just start with PowerPoint, watch the videos, do the labs, and he already is like on
He's done.
section 3 and made 100% on all of it. So, you know, he's really a motivated student too, because he's trying to get that championship. But yeah, the resources I have are on njhsconant, conant.weebly.com. I've had some correspondence with some teachers that said they couldn't get to my quizzes links that I sent out. I don't guess I shared them correctly. So I'll try to work on updating that. But I do have some additional practice activities and things out there, especially like with Excel, because that one is so hard to give them practice doing those formulas and functions and charts and everything.
Yeah, I always formulas, tables, and charts in Excel. That's where they always get hung up, and that's where they struggle.
It is, yeah.
So, let's talk about some of the things maybe you're still struggling with. What's the challenges? You know, the nice thing I'll say about TestOut is, and I think Kim and Molly and Matthew, I think you've all kind of alluded to it, you know, and we've had these quarantine. My own daughter's been quarantined 3 times. She finally got COVID. I'm recovering for it right now, but this is her 3rd time being quarantined. First 2, she was just, what are we calling these?
Exposed.
Yeah, the tracing. Yeah, so she's on the volleyball team, girls on the volleyball team. So everybody on the volleyball team gets shut down. So, but what's you know, the nice thing here is if they can be home. And my daughter that's been on quarantine, she's like, I love home. I can do all my schoolwork in 3 hours instead of 5 hours at school, and I don't have any homework.
That's why we homeschool.
Yeah, right. So, but maybe some things that are still you're struggling with that. Maybe, you know, we'll send out this recording and people can give us feedback and say, hey, here's something maybe I'd love to know what's not working still, what's the challenge that we still face.
Being in rural Arkansas, internet access is, I mean, all students don't have internet access. In fact, I'm getting a notice right now that my internet's slowing down because if you live more than a mile out of town, then, you know, you don't have a lot of options when it comes to internet. And so it would be nice to me if maybe the videos especially could be available to be viewed offline. At least that way the students could view that, get some background, and then when they come back to school, go right into the labs without having to spend the time watching the videos at school.
What if they were able to, say, pull it up on an app on their phone and watch a video on their phone? Would that help solve that problem?
An app would be wonderful.
Yeah, that's something that's currently being discussed in our product development council of looking at the videos and the text lessons and possibly some quizzes, so you could put some of those resources out on an app.
And I hate to mention it because it's old school, but how about a CD with all or DVD with all the videos for that lesson on there?
Do they even make DVD player? No, I'm kidding. No, yeah, but that might be a solution. So one of the things I actually did a presentation with a bunch of CT teachers in Alabama this morning. One of the things I pointed out to them is this pandemic's brought to the light some of these areas we've all just kind of turned our eye on. So we know that that's a problem that exists, but we don't really want to address it. Rural connectivity is number one in my opinion, and that is across the nation. I don't care if you're rural Arkansas. Every state has a rural issue. So we're here in Utah, we have a rural issue. California, believe it or not, has a rural. We think large metropolitan areas. New York has a rural issue. And so that's one of these that's been brought to the forefront is how do we help these rural students be more engaged when they can't connect? This isn't just for the backwoods of Tennessee and somewhere. I've actually got a teacher up in West Virginia. She lives in a no cell range area because they have a big observational government satellite there.
Yes, so they do. Yep.
Yeah, so if you know what I'm talking about, she lives in that area, and she's like, I got nothing. So, but this rural environment, this is one of those things. One of the other ones, just the socioeconomic impact of some kids that have access to better internet access than others, right? And so, tell me about internet access for you both in Arizona, in Arkansas, and then Matthew, where you're at. I mean, has that been an issue?
I mean, I will say some kids use internet access as a crutch. I know they have internet access. I know where they live, and they're using it as an excuse. So yes, a lot of kids do struggle. They don't have it, whether it be in an area where it's not serviced or maybe their family can't afford it. But we've thrown that term or that issue for not doing your work around so much that now all the kids, I didn't have internet last night. I couldn't do my work. And I don't know what the answer to that is, but I know that I don't know if it's as bad as what it's being portrayed to be, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, interesting.
And I'm from a small school, and we have dirt roads where I live, and there is poor service, but where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah, interesting. So, and what we've seen is that, schools get creative. I mean, so suburban Salt Lake City area where my wife teaches, they broadcast their Wi-Fi and extend it out into the parking lot.
Yes.
That's available, right? So they just went remote for the next 2 weeks, and she called and confirmed, yes, that's still being broadcast, and the bandwidth has been increased into those areas. So yeah, worst case scenario, I like what you said, Molly, where there's a will, there's a way, because guaranteed if they're trying to access Netflix, yeah, they're going to find a way to access
You're
Netflix.
exactly right.
Yepper.
Yeah, and we have it where you can go into our parking lots, but we also have set up. I think it's been with some grants with the state, maybe locations around town that you can sit in your car and have Wi-Fi. So, I mean, yes, it's going to be more difficult for some than others, but I don't think it's impossible.
Okay, I told
right,
you
and that's what I told my students too. I'm sorry.
Told
my students too with the parking lot. It's like, some of these labs have 8 to 12 tasks, especially at the beginning. I'm like, that's not too much to ask for you to come and sit in the parking lot for 10, 15 minutes and do this lab while you're downloading other assignments or submitting other assignments. So, yeah.
Or downloading videos to watch them later at home.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what they're doing. Okay, I told you we wouldn't go too long on here. So I'm just going to go around the room here. One thing that if you could go back and you wish you would have known in August or September that you've maybe picked up on now, that's something that's working, just something you would have known, just like I wish I would have started that earlier. What would it be?
Mine would have been, I would have known to tell my students up front that it doesn't work on an Apple tablet like an iPad. Had I known that, I could have saved, a couple of kids some, issues with that. I didn't know. like I said, a few of the features don't work on the Chromebook, like quotation marks is one. When you're typing in formulas with Excel, we've struggled with quotation marks
Okay.
and using a Chromebook. Those are just little things that if I known, I could have told the students up front. I think it would have saved a lot of time on it.
Excellent. Kim, you want to go next? You got something? Put you
I'm
on the
still
spot.
thinking.
Matthew, you got something that?
No. So what I tell my students is, if you got an Apple, if your parents sprung for a big Apple present for your high school graduation, that's great. Go sell it and buy 2 good laptops.
Yeah.
Because the thing is it's not that I don't want to help you use your Apple the way it should be used, so that way you can do Word and Excel. I don't have one. I can't replicate the problem that you're having. I can't see it. Even though we can share screen,
Right.
I can't see what you're clicking with the one-click mouse, and I just can't duplicate your issue. So therefore, I can't help you. It's not that I don't want to. It's not that I'm anti-Apple, even though I think it's very expensive. But you buy Apples for the tool that they were made for, which was graphics and media and stuff like that. Office is business product, not
Exactly right.
yeah. And so and I did have one student who did that. He went and sold his Apple, and he bought a laptop for him, and his brother was a senior about to go to college, and he bought another laptop for him. And so his parents got to save a bunch of money. And so I was like, well, isn't that? And he goes, it's so much easier. I just did what you said, and it was so much easier. Just took it out, sold it, and got 2 decent laptops. And I said, well, how much did you spend on your laptops? He goes, $400 each. I said, perfect. Those are the perfect laptops. I'm still playing with my Raspberry Pi 4 to see if I can get Windows 10 to run. Not so good, but I don't know if you guys have seen the new Raspberry Pi. They're actually putting it inside a keyboard now, like the old VIC-20s and Ataris. Yeah. So for $100, you could have
You have a keyboard that can run Windows 10.
Right. So, but I don't know if it runs Windows yet. It runs Linux, great, but that doesn't help us with TestOut, because there is that one section where you do have to do it yourself. And let's face it, Open Office would probably be the next product that TestOut should probably look into, just because Linux is becoming so explosive right now.
More and more. So both you, Molly and Matthew, both actually just bring up, device compatibility and understanding.
Yeah.
And some of
Yeah, but it's self-imposed. It's not like they have alternatives. You could boot camp on an Apple to run Windows. Microsoft offers a free license for students for that purpose. But they don't know how to do it. They don't know the technology. They don't understand. And when you're distance, you can't help them. There's not a whole lot you can do. I send them a link, follow these directions in this 20-minute video, and they get 30 seconds in and they go, I don't understand. It's like, well, get off your phone and watch the video. But
yeah, Kim, what do you got? One thing you wish you would have known back.
Well, I think just the custom reports, I wish I would have known how to do that a little sooner. That now that I've kind of got the hang of it, those really come in handy. That would be the main thing I could.
Yeah, custom reports and custom exams. There's something, even veteran teachers that have used TestOut forever sometimes don't take advantage of those, and they're like, "That's been there how long?" I'm like, "Yep, it has." Well, maybe not. Custom reports have actually been there about 3 or 4 years now, but the ability to create the data that you want to see, that's huge, right? And so, especially right now, I think data and the reporting. I mean, that's the way you have to keep track of these students, right? And so if you can use the reporting features to tell you a story of who's doing the work and when they're doing the work and how they're doing the work and what's working and what's not working, I think that's huge. Okay. All right. I appreciate all of you. Any last thoughts or comments that you want to share?
The last thing I want to say, and I have sent this into, I think you gave me the link of wherever you send ideas to. I can't remember now. It's been a while. I wish that we had the ability to hide parts of it.
Right. A lockout.
Or
feature.
like turn it off at a certain point, like hide it, after it's due or something, so you don't have people trying to get it in at the next day. But
Yeah.
sometimes,
that too.
like some of my my 504 IEP kids, they get really overwhelmed trying to find what assignment they need when they see all of it. If
Yeah.
I can like hide everything except for what they need, that would be beneficial. You know, I've used ICEV before, and I've used SAM with Cengage
Mhm.
for Microsoft, and I mean TestOut is much better, but they did have that feature where you could hide, and that was
Yeah,
very
that's
beneficial.
the number one requested thing, especially on the Facebook group, is that ability to lock out. Hey, here's
Yes.
what we're seeing, and that once. So these are the ideas we're learning, and we're getting the feedback, and that was also being discussed in the product council as we look at, hey, what do we need to do so we better improve our products. So we always appreciate that feedback. You guys are on the ones on the front line, and that story's been told more so than ever, and I think that'll get it done. So yeah, great feedback, Molly. Okay, I appreciate the time today. I'll send y'all a swag box of thank you notes, and email me your mailing address. I appreciate you taking the time to do this, and stay safe, stay well. Thanks for helping other teachers out. It's part of one of the things I love actually about my job is I get to communicate, and if I don't have an answer, I know one of you out there in that TestOut instructor community is willing to share and collaborate. It's been a good thing. So appreciate the time today, everyone.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, talk to you
Welcome.
later. All right.
Bye.